Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the Oxnard City Council. This is Carl Lawson, Compliance Manager for the Housing Department. At this point, we're presenting to you the TEFRA hearing for the issuance of state bonds for the financing and construction of a project known as the Central Terrace Apartments. TEFRA stands for Tax Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act, a federal law which sets forth procedures which local governments must follow whenever state bonds are being sought for the construction or rehabilitation of housing. The developer, in this case, Many Mansions, is seeking the issuance of $30 million tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds to be issued by the California Municipal Finance Authority, known as CMFA, in order to finance the development, construction, and equipping and rehabilitation of the Central Terrace Apartments. And that project is envisioned to produce 87 units of multifamily low-income rental housing at 217 to 235 East 6th Street, a lot which is currently not occupied by any housing units. Whenever a developer seeks the issuance by state of tax-free bonds, the TEFRA law requires the legislative body of the local jurisdiction where the project will be built to conduct a public hearing in order to permit members of the public to provide input on the issuance of the bonds by the state. Given that the project will be built in the city of Oxnard, it is the City Council of Oxnard which must conduct this hearing. But we stress that the bonds are issued by the CMFA and not by the city of Oxnard. As indicated, the project is intended to result in affordable housing units, 86 of which will be affordable. There are no current residents or housing units in the site, and thus there will be no displacement. It's important to note that the project is not a project of the City of Oxnard Housing Department or the Oxnard Housing Authority. The bonds are not being issued by the city or by the Housing Authority. They're being issued, again, by the state CMFA. The action of the city in conducting this TEFRA hearing and approving the issuance by the state of these bonds does not result in any financial obligation to the city or liability. The obligation for those bonds does not incur on the city. The city's sole obligation relative to the bond issuance is to conduct this hearing and receive public comment. We have before you a rendering of what Many Mansions believes intends the project to look like upon completion. And a representative of Many Mansions is available to answer any questions that the council may have regarding the project. I emphasize once again, though, that tonight's action is not an approval of the project, nor of this design, which you see before you, nor of anything other than the state issuing bonds to the developer so that Many Mansions can proceed and advance on the road toward bringing this project to fruition. The two recommendations set forth in your staff report and here are as follows. The first is to conduct this hearing and receive public comment on the issuance of the bonds by the state. And second, following that hearing, adopt a resolution approving the issuance by the state of the bonds for the benefit of Many Mansions. And that concludes our presentation. We'd be glad to answer any questions. Staff is there to answer questions, as is a representative from Many Mansions. And we thank you very much.